Hi guys, it's Jo Gifford here from jogifford.co, and this is day three of Lead From Your Edge, which is my live 5-day training series all about finding that message that really hits home with your audience so that you can magnetize your clients towards you, make the sales, and have your mic drop moments. So in days 1 and 2, you can find all the videos on my profile, and you can also go to leadfromyouredge.com if you're not watching this from within that group and access the worksheets and the prompts and get everything straight to your inbox. And there's also support from me in the group as well. So on day 3 of Lead From Your Edge, I want you guys to join in with this broadcast. So feel free to leave your comments below, say hi if you're here. Share it out with your friends if you're watching and finding it useful. Already on day 2, we've seen huge results in people really feeling a shift in the way that they can communicate their business. And it's been amazing to hear back from people who are like, oh my gosh, I can really see how all the stuff that I bring to my business, I can communicate that in a really unique way. And that is where you get to stand out and you get to, be different, but not be different for difference sake. You get to stand out in a way that is really unique and bespoke to you. And that's what leading from your edge is. It's finding a way to communicate and finding a way to work with that message that feels really good to you, because otherwise it's not going to work, guys. So it's been amazing already to see how, people have been using these broadcasts and using the worksheets and the prompts. It's just tiny steps every single day over 5 days, and you will have your mic drop moment message manifesto. You'll really feel tuned in to, how you can stand up on stage, whatever that stage is. So whether your stage is a Facebook Live, whether your stage is an actual stage and you're doing your TED Talk, or whether or not you're, sort of writing your first ebook, you're doing webinars, you're in networking groups, whatever it is, knowing how to communicate what you do in a way that feels so awesome will really connect you with your clients. So leadfromyouredge.com is where we're at. So if you just head to that link, you'll be able to access our free Facebook group. And then if you want any of the extra opt-ins and the bonus materials and the roundup stuff, that can be yours to keep for free. Free stuff, guys. Okay. So in day 4 of Leading From Your Edge, we are building on what we've done for the first couple of days, which is really delving into your personal power paradigm, what makes you you, all the elements that you bring to your business. And then we looked at your alter ego on day 2. In day 3, it's about the white noise and finding some space in the white noise. And this is where you need to help yourself stand apart and to find where your uniqueness can fit in with a message that is really clear. Okay. And we do that by using 2 things. So first of all, we look at what is being said in your industry at the moment. And if anyone's watching who would like to join in, let me know below, the industry that you're in and the current trends, topics, themes, the stuff that is out there being said. And you will find, we're using this Leading From Your Edge training to stand out amongst the mediocrity out there, amongst everyone saying the same things, amongst everyone using the same copywriters, that using the same phrases, the same buzzwords. And we all do it at some point in our business because we're trying to model ourselves on how we think we should be. Okay. And especially when you start off in a business, you're trying on so many different hats and you're thinking, right, is this how I need to stand out? Well, that person's doing it and it's quite good and it's working for them. It's working for them. It won't work for you. You need to find your own voice and your own message. And it's okay to put your hand up and say, do you know what? I used to be like that. I was trying on somebody else's voice and it wasn't right for me. And you'll see it happening all the time, guys. You'll see a phrase or buzzword in your industry being used and people are throwing it around without really thinking about whether it's relevant to their audience or to what they're doing or to what they bring to the table. And it's, it lacks impact, it lacks authenticity and all that stuff. So look at both what is being said in the press in your industry, on social media, what's being said on sales pages, on websites. What is the general take on things out there in your niche and your sector? Okay, so you could just take a moment to brainstorm what is being said. And you'll think about phrases maybe that are sort of commonly used phrases. You might think of commonly used approaches. You might think of commonly used, viewpoints. You might think of certain angles that are being said out there in the world. And just take a moment to look at all those. And if you go into the group, if you go into leadfromyouredge.com, you can access the worksheets, which will help you to do that. It's all free. So once you've just taken a moment to brainstorm what is being said, you can then do the flip side. So I'm just going to check, because this broadcast is going into a couple of groups, making sure that anyone who's leaving a comment is also seen. Right, okay, no, we're fine. So feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what your industry is, and let me know if you get the idea of what is being said, and what that means to you in your industry. Of course, the flip side to that is what's not being said, and that's where the white space is. So can you identify areas of your expertise, of your take on things, of your approach, and match it up with the space in what's not being said out there? And that is your sweet spot. That is where you get to add your conversation with something that's going to have some impact. Because if you're following the same lines as everybody else, if you're going down the same road with your blog posts, with your topics, with all of your communication, you look the same as everyone else. There's no reason to stand you apart. And here's the thing, guys, we're in business, and there are so many people doing often very similar things, but your market want you. Your market want you for all the skills that you bring, for your bespoke set and your particular mixture of experience and approach and personality. All of that stuff makes you you. So you might sort of come to me to learn about content creation and messaging, or you might want to go to somebody else. It depends who resonates with you and which stays in your business. And that can be something that you can be really intentional about. So for example, there might be several yoga teachers out there, but your approach to yoga might be really different to someone else's. Perhaps your classes have a certain approach. Perhaps your background has a certain, sort of mixture to it. Perhaps your reason for practicing is quite different, and you teach classes in a certain way. Perhaps your personality has a certain edge to it. These are the things you can amp up in your messaging. So if you are in a crowded marketplace, you can narrow that by making your market people who are attracted to you. And that's where you get overbooked and oversubscribed, and you have people who are queuing up around the corner to buy from you, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so look for what is not being said. So if we take that example again of yoga, so you could look at what's currently being said. How do people usually advertise classes? How do they talk about their practice? What's the common themes? Look at Instagram, look at Facebook, look at websites, look at YouTube. Just take a moment just to get some snapshots of how people approach their marketing and their messaging, and then look for what is not being said. What do your customers need? And, what do you bring to the table that is not currently spoken about out there? And when I say spoken about, it might be in text, it might be visuals, it might be in a concept. So this is quite an abstract thing, but once you get going with it, you'll really start to understand how once you can identify that space, you can really stand apart. Hi, Heather. I'm loving Heather's comment. It's just the hands. Heather, I would love to hear your example if you're still here able to watch. So Heather is one of my biz BFFs. She's an amazing human being and a unicorn. And Heather is, she's a brain trainer. Okay. So Heather, what is usually said in the industry that you're focusing on? So say, for example, with your training for weight loss, there's certain things which are always said and certain things which aren't, and you bring your bespoke message to it, don't you? So it'd be really interesting to hear, what you bring to that if you have a moment to add. And it's so important because once you can identify what's not being said, then you get to disrupt and stand out. And disrupting doesn't have to be that you are argumentative, that you have an approach that is kind of really, what's the word I'm looking for? Antagonistic or in your face. Disruption doesn't mean that. It just means that you are able to stand out in a way that it's a fresh approach. And you get that by taking a bit of time to delve into your messaging in this way, by interrogating what's already out there, by taking some strategic glances at it and putting it back together as a toolkit that really serves you. Because when you have that concept, when you have the concept of how you work, when you have the concept of your approach and your brand really nailed, that applies to all of your talking points, that applies to your content, it applies to every piece of interaction, from emails to Facebook messages, to client interactions, to podcast interviews, to mic drop moments. Heather focuses on the inner conversation, the inner voice, so what is being said about your weight and your body. So a lot of people, working in the weight loss arena, would be talking about sort of like aesthetics and end results and stuff like that. And Heather, I know, is very much about end results, but her piece of it is focusing on the inner conversation, and she trains your brain, which in turn has a massive result on your body. So thank you so much, Heather, for being here. I know that your work is incredible, and I love that example of how you fit in the white space with your brand. And also, just to keep on using Heather as an example because she's awesome, Heather is a really creative person. So Heather also runs things like, she runs something called Dr. Sketchies, which is a sort of really creative life drawing class, which is amazing. And Heather's imagination, the way that she works so creatively, she brings that to her sessions as a brain trainer. And I happen to know this because I've had many sessions with her, and she's also a friend. And Heather also says, so weight loss industry is often focused on quick results. So her white space is on the sustainable lifetime relationship. So with Heather, we'd be talking about her, what we call her power paradigm would be her background as a photographer, as a marketer, all the stuff she's done with her Dr. Sketchies. Sorry, Heather, I'm totally using you as an example here without your permission. Do stop me if you'd like me to. But she brings that approach to her current work, and her personality is someone who's really creative, who wears Wonder Woman costumes for her workouts and stuff like that, which is why I love her, one of many reasons. When you work with her, you get the essence of all of those things, and that is the impact of her message. And so therefore you are either repelled or you are attracted to the message which Heather brings and her unique take on things. And also she uses brain training. It's all about you, darling. She uses brain training as a combination of binaural beats, of EFT, of NLP, of creative visualization, all that stuff. So that blend is really unique to her, and so that is how she brings that to her clients, and which would set her apart therefore from someone else who practices EFT, who doesn't have the background that she has in the creative industries and marketing and all that sort of stuff. So Heather's unique approach makes her unique, and I'd love for anybody who's currently watching who wants to raise their hand to consider how your unique approach can be added to the white space of what is not being said, and where you can slot in your message. So for those of you that have already done the first couple of days of Lead from Your Edge Live, can you identify your personal power paradigm, that baseline of what makes you you, and be then added into the kind of alter ego, the confident you, how do you feel? How do you move yourself when you are more confident? How do you dress? All that sort of stuff. And then we're now looking at the white space, the white noise. Where can you find the space of what is not being said, where you can go in and say, right, hi, this is what I think about this. This is my take on it. It makes your take on things so much more impactful. And it also takes away that temptation of the copycat syndrome, right? And often, even if we don't mean to, because we're swamped by messaging all the time, because we are swamped by information, by content all the time, you can't unsee something, as my good friend Amy and I discussed last week. You can't unsee something that is brilliant, and it's going to stick in your head, especially if it's part of your industry. And so what you want to do is be so confident in who you are and what you do that you can be inspired by someone else. Of course, that's really healthy. That's a great thing. But your difference, what makes you different, how you can articulate that in such a way that has your clients, queuing up around the corner, right? Which is what we want, and sending you love notes into your inbox and queuing up to hire you. So I'm just going to check if anyone's leaving a comment in the other groups. because I know that sometimes happens if I'm on a live. Okay, no, we're good. So guys, those of you who are brave enough, who are still here on the broadcast now, if you're watching the replay, obviously I'll be checking the comments later on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But if you are here right now, I'd love to hear your industry and what it is that is like the common take on things, the most usual topic, the most usual approach. What is currently being said. It might be a list of concepts, it might be some phrases, it might, the stuff that everyone's saying, and you're like, oh, I need to stand apart from that. If you can identify that, that's half the battle. So if you want to raise a hand, I can here to help you live with it. If you feel comfortable enough doing so, I challenge you to sort of speak up and get me to work through it with you live. But whether or not you go through it live now or you check the emails in your inbox, you will be able to access all this stuff and get the worksheets to help you through it, because it's like a little Venn diagram, really. You've got the what's being said, what's not being said, and your personal paradigms. Hi Zoe. So, oh great, we've got some answers here. So Zoe says her bugbear right now is mindfulness and its healing power. My take is that we need to address the whole. High five, Zoe. Thank you so much for rocking up and for sharing that with us. Zoe, what I love here is that I happen to know that you've been going through this leading from your edge process this week, and you've been having some amazing results, and I'm really, really proud of you. And can you also add in, if you feel able to, and each part, she says, if you feel able to, could you add in how you can see your personal paradigm, all the stuff that makes you you, can you now see how you can add those things to that approach? So you're saying, right, we need to approach each part as a whole. So, we need to address the whole here. And actually, I bring all this stuff with me. Here's who I am. This is my experience. And it's been lovely watching you, really resonate with that, this week, and to really kind of step into your personality. So if you feel able to share a bit of that, that'd be amazing as well, because it's just been, amazing having you here with me for the last few days. So I'm going to chat to Megan while you... Oh, here we go. So Megan says, I'm a web designer and I feel like most other designers start with a mood board and branding, whereas that's one of the last parts I do. I start with the content and layout. Okay, Megan, I love that. And I'm not sure whether you know that my first career was graphic design. I'm just going to tell you your comment because it's had in my face. So this is something which I really understand about. So what I would say here is, why don't you start with a mood board? What's your reason for that? Because that's something that you can really amp up in your messaging. So you want to have the nuts and bolts in place. So you're starting, so you're making content the priority, which, at the moment, there's a huge trend for, for user experience and content really working together because of the way we're saturated with everything. So I would take your approach, your bespoke approach, your experience, all that stuff. So what do you bring to web design? What experience you have, what expertise you have, what is your personality, all of that stuff. And then, the fact that you work in a different way does become a white space area for you. So you can say, hey, I work in this way because I believe that content is really important and the way we use it has to be paramount. And so that becomes a different angle for you, if you know what I mean. Megan has replied to Zoe saying, yes, that Zoe's approach of mindfulness and treating the whole makes you think of the whole of a hologram. Yeah, so it contains everything within it. That's a lovely visual representation of Zoe's approach. And it can, this stuff can often evolve over time. So you're immersing yourself in these 5 days in a way of really connecting with your message in a way that you can articulate as a mic drop moment, as a system. So that, say, for example, Megan has identified that she works slightly differently from most other designers. And okay, so let's take yours also, Megan. So what is usually said in web design? What's the current trend in the space that you're working within? Are people using the same fonts? Are people using similar images? Are people, where are they finding inspiration? And where can you stand apart? Because, as with any industry, there's people with all different skills. So what do your skills bring to web design? What does the way that you approach web design, so we know that you start with content, which is a really massive difference to how other people might approach it. You know, is there anything else that adds, you know, that your experience, your approach, your personality can bring to the way that you work with clients? Okay, so Zoe, going back to Zoe's story, Zoe says that her own story is key to the message. It's when she healed all the layers that you became fully expressed and as a whole healed. And I really, really resonate with that, Zoe. As you guys know, I have, you know, several ongoing and long-term health things which I deal with myself, and so I totally resonate with the fact that when you work with everything as a whole is when you start to see huge shifts. And so your personal story there, Zoe, will be really key in your messaging, and you know, the way that you know, bring your personal story and all the shortcuts that you can now give to your clients from having gone, you know, from having worked through all of those layers will be really, really key. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's go to check the other groups, see if we got anyone else messaging. Okay, not at the moment, which is cool. So does anyone else want to raise their hand and say the industry and what is currently being said and where you can stand apart before we wrap up the broadcast? And I'd love to hear as well any results you've been having from working through the lead from your edge material. I know, you know, yesterday we were seeing lots of wins from people having some ahas and really having some moments of really connecting with the message. And already the tangible confidence within the group who are working with us for 5 days is just huge. So leadfromyouredge.com is a free Facebook group. This is also streaming in there. And if you join in the group, there's, you know, live interaction. There's more support in there. You can access the worksheets and the emails directly to you as well. So anybody want to raise their hand before we wrap up, or any Q&As that I can help with on day 3 of this training? So we've moved from your power paradigm baseline to your alter ego to finding the white space and the white noise, which is the really integral part. So we're layering up this approach of really digging into what makes you, you, which affects every part of communication. So, you know, when you feel stuck and you're like, right, I've got this product idea, but it's kind of, you know, I'm not sure it's right for my audience, and how do I articulate this to them? You will be able to articulate in such a way that you're, you know, that the clients who need you and your skills will be magnetized to you, which, you know, gets rid of the other people. So there's no maybes or ifs or buts. You are attracting and essentially creating your own market for your stuff, which is really key when you are, you know, sort of putting your messaging out. So thank you so much to all of you who have joined me for the broadcast. It's your last chance now to raise your hand. If you want to just raise your hand and let me know below if you have a question. You don't have to write the whole question out if you just want to let me know that you want to step in. If not, I'm going to wrap this up, and obviously if you're watching the replay, you can leave a message either here below or in the group itself, and I want to hear how you're getting on with finding that sweet spot between what's being said, what's not being said, and where you can disrupt. That's so, so important. So thank you for everyone who has been here on the live. If you've missed it, thank you so much, Megan. Awesome to have you here. If you've missed it, no worries. You can catch up on the replay, and you can also opt in to have all the videos and the worksheets sent as a roundup to you at the end of the week, because there's some really powerful training going on here which are helping people really get super clear on their messaging. So I'm back tomorrow with another live, and in the meantime, I'll see you in the group. Okay, bye.